hotel, then you see the road. I'm out to my soul into the size whenever the smoke clear out of my face and my picture perfect.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to Cypherfics. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the second part of, What If Helluva Boss Meets Panty and Stocking with Garterbelt. Special note, this fanfic is written and a masterpiece of Zaru on FANFICTIONnet. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. The smell of bacon tickled Brief's nose as he stirred in his sleep, his eyes fluttering as he sat up. He looked around. Where was he? This wasn't his lab. Or his own bed at Rock Manor. Or some random hotel in Oden City. He shuffled out of the bed. He assumed he was in some kind of guest room, with a desk at one end of the room, a closet, and a doorway. He walked towards the door, seeing it lead into a small bathroom, complete with a shower, toiletries and sink. He looked down, seeing himself still in his green jumpsuit as he went to the windowsill, opening it up. A deep red sky, with some spots darker than others. Zeppelins hovered over the skyline in the distance, honest-to-God Zeppelins of all things, showcasing advertisements with the people on display looking inhuman. Monstrous. That wasn't a dream then. He muttered, shuddering as he rubbed his arm. He took a deep breath, looking down at the floor, away from the window. He really was in hell. A knock at the door made him jump as he turned around. "Hello? Brief?" said the voice of a woman, low and deep, but definitely female. "You awake, sweetie?" "Sweetie? Yes. I am," he replied as the door swung open. And there, in the doorway, was a dark, inhuman figure. Red eyes glowed in the shadows, brightening up when they found him. A tall no, seriously, she had to be over 7 feet. Wolf woman strode in. Her fur was dark, black or close enough, a coiffed mane of platinum hair sprouting from between her point ears. She was plump. Okay, not to put too fine a point on it, this werewolf-looking woman was stacked. Her worn blue jeans hugged her wide, shapely thighs as they went up and made a complete butt of themselves, one easily twice the width of his entire body. Her simple t-shirt and apron hugged the contours of her incredibly large bosom. Despite his hobbies and social circle, Brief had never developed an eye for bust size on what they might be on a girl but GS at least. H-cup, maybe. Bigger than his head, definitely. The wolf woman grinned upon seeing him, revealing a small arsenal of shiny white fangs, her canines about as long as his thumb. "Good morning, Brief. I was just checking in on you. Come on, I made some breakfast." She gestured, as Brief had his hands at his side as he marched forward, slowly but surely. No sudden movements, the terrified boy thought to himself. He remembered yesterday. Falling into hell, fighting off Corset, landing in that dumpster and was about to be set upon by those two monsters. Then he was saved by that dark-furred hound with the scarred eye. During his time in the trunk, he had done some searching on that phone of his. Vortex, was his name. So many things he didn't know about until a nebula began calling over and he just set it down and closed his eyes inside that car. Thanks Nebula. Oh. You know my name. And no problem sweetie, oh, she cooed, walking up as Brief gulped, flinching before he was wrapped up in a big hug, what felt like his entire upper body vanishing into her soft apron-covered bosom. She smelled like warm hay and fresh laundry, with only a hint of sulfur. It was kinda nice, actually. You sound even cuter awake. Oh, thank the sins on high-techs was around to save your skin. Literally. She waited for his response, looking down when he gave none, seeing only a sprout of orange hair poking out from between her buxom assets. She chuckled, embarrassed, and released him. Brief let out a deep exhale. Whoops. Sorry, sweetie. What a way to die. That's okay, Ms. Nebula. Come on, let's get you fed, honey. She took his hand, and Brief was escorted out of the bedroom and down the hall. And please, call me Eula. You know my name. Brief added. It's Briefers Rock, but you can call me Brief. Briefers Rock, what a name. She chuckled. He can see picture frames along the wall, with several framed photos of younger wolf people like Vortex and Nebula in their matching attire. But much slimmer and not as muscular/chubby respectively. Must be old family photos. He was led downstairs as he saw the living room, and the windows leading out to the backyard. A familiar sight was there too, Vortex bending down and lifting a big truck tire and flipping it on one end. Tex is just finishing his morning workout. Always keeps that rock-hard bod in shape. She shrugged. Brief saw the size of it, it looked like it came off a monster truck. Yeah, he couldn't budge that even if he put his back into it. He'd need a new spine. They got to the dining room within the kitchen, and he gasped at the spread. Pancakes, bacon, eggs over easy, and buttered sourdough toast. Brief blinked in dumb shock and felt himself salivating a bit. Oh, I can see the look on your face, Nebula giggled. Well, go on, sweetie, have a seat and dig in. She pulled out a chair for him as the boy took his seat. She didn't sound old, at least not much older than himself. But then, he would hardly consider himself an expert on the subject of giant CC demonic dog ladies. 18, and still a sophomore in high school thanks to his long journey in Oten City with Chuck, the sisters, and Garter. He shivered, pushing away those thoughts. For now, he needed to eat, he was famished. Nebula dutifully set a plate in front of him and just stacked the thing. 6 slices of bacon, 3 eggs, 2 slices of toast, and a 5-high stack of pancakes. Part of him wondered if he should be, well, losing his mind because he was in hell. But then his stomach would growl and those thoughts perished. He was hungry, there was food, it was simple math. He began to pour some syrup on the flapjacks, looking up to see Nebula poke her head out to the backyard to call to Vortex. Her tail was wagging atop a large, curvy rump the size of a prize-winning pumpkin. Never mind that, the food was delicious. He began to cut up and dig in as Nebula turned around, making way as Vortex sauntered in, wearing nothing but workout shorts. If Eula was an exemplar of Venusian ideals, Vortex was that of the Greeks. Fur or no, the dude was cut. Brief glanced at him, and saw the black-furred hound smirk. Morning, Brief, he said, his one eye turning to Nebula. Seems he likes your cooking. Obviously. Nebula rolled her eyes as she kissed him on the cheek. Finish your morning workout then? Yep, don't worry, I'll help set up for the party tonight. Vortex said as he walked past the boy as he walked to the fridge and got a canister of what Brief assumed to be some manner of protein shake and chugged it down. So, sleep well? He asked as Brief swallowed some egg and toast. Why yeah, I did. Thank you so much for the food, too, Mrs. Nebula Eula, he said, smiling at her as the hound girl smiled in return. Oh, it's nothing Brief. This is a walk in the park for what I usually do. She waved with a hand. You should see me down in Gluttony. Although you may not fit into that green jumpsuit for long. Brief blinked as he dabbed his mouth with a napkin, looking at Vortex. Gluttony. Is that where we are? I mean, where we aren't. Shoot, I mean we were in lust for a bit, right? That's right, said Vortex, gesturing at his home. Right now we're in Pride, the uppermost ring. Brief's mind recounted his knowledge of the occult, and how demons and hell works, at least from his perspective. So like hell has levels or rings to it, right? That's right, Vortex said, finishing up as he placed the empty jug in the sink, sighing. Normally, I'd go and shower but I think we all need to talk. He took a seat opposite of Brief, Nebula sitting beside the muscular black-furred hound. Brief sat back in his seat as he took a deep breath. You have questions, I bet. Well, so do we. He set his utensils down, with some food in his belly he can think more clearly. I do, yeah. Brief looked through his bangs to the duo. So what are you two exactly? Demons in hell? Former people in life? Kind of, we're hellborn demons. Hellhounds to be precise. Vortex replied. And, as I said, we live in the Ring of Pride. The topmost level in hell. Nebula perked up. Oh, let me draw something up for you. Give you an idea. Nebula gestured for him to wait and got up, walking past the two to grab some paper and a pen, Vortex smirking at her as she walked past, clearly ogling. So you and Mrs. Nebula been together long? He asked, and Vortex perked up. Oh, it's Miss actually. Vortex coughed a bit. We're a couple, just not married yet. We will be soon, though. Nebula called out from the other room as Vortex chuckled. I see, so hellborn demons. That means you were born in hell. Then, where do, bad people go? Brief asked. They come here too, right? They do. They are what we call sinners. Vortex nodded as he ate some bacon. See, everyone who comes down here is a demon. In fact, remember those two mooks that were about to rip you a new one last night? Those were sinners, former humans who were condemned here for their actions in life. Brief gulped, remembering the frightening demons who wanted to do things to him. And here I thought I've faced down terrible monsters before. Guess there's more to hell than the comics showed. Vortex quirked an eyebrow. I imagine humans know of it, but you seem knowledgeable. At least, you're sure as SHT taking all this in stride. Oh no, this is just, not what I expected. I expected fire and brimstone and pitchforks everywhere. Chains and hooks and benge leather. Not this. Brief gestured to the pleasant homestead around him. From what I remember of last night, that place you found me in last night kinda reminds me of Dayton City's Rengoku district a bit. Or, Memphis. Vortex snorted, and chuckled. Comparing Imp City to Memphis? That's hilarious, he said. Then again, better than Pentagram City for you. Which is strange. And why I want to get to the meat of the matter. Nebula walked on in, pen and a notepad in hand as she began to draw the moment she sat down. Vortex stared intently at Brief, and he felt intimidated under the hound's one-eyed gaze. What are you doing in hell? Vortex asked, bluntly, and Brief winced. A real, breathing, and very alive human down here. That doesn't just happen. Why am I here? Brief said, looking at the table as he remembered the days after Oten City and saving Panty, leading up to him going up to that place. Well, to tell you the truth, I was fighting off a demon. Vortex quirked an eyebrow. A demon named Corset. I guess you can say he and I are enemies. It wasn't a lie. Most of it. A demon's doing business on Earth? Vortex asked as Nebula was still sketching. Sounds like you crossed some powerful people. Corset was powerful. Heck, he's responsible for almost causing the world to collapse. Twice, I might add. Brief exclaimed. If it hadn't been for, everyone, I don't think Earth would be standing, and I'd be here normally, you could say. Whoa, slow down. Corset almost caused the world to collapse. What does this dude even look like? He asked. He looked like us. Like you. What kinda demon was he? Humanoid? Nose, mouth, eyes, teeth, all normal, but with blue skin and pointy ears. Oh, he was a huge bench fetishist. Had all these straps on his body and hooks in his mouth, Brief added. Used to be, just a head, too, after we stopped him the first time. Humanoid. Weird skin. Bench. Vortex muttered. Sounds familiar. Strange. Where is this Dayton City, anyway, babe? Nebula asked, still drawing as Brief asked. I don't think I'm allowed to say. Nebula tilted her head at the answer. It's part of my contract. Earth travel, you know how it is. It's in the USA, I know that much. Verosica does shows there from time to time, Vortex said. Some sinners down here hail from there. He rolled his neck, creaking bones audible. But what did he do to almost cause the world to collapse anyway? Brief gulped. He tried to open a portal into hell from Earth. Twice. Vortex took a deep breath, and Nebula stopped drawing as they looked to Brief, then back to each other as the orange-haired boy winced. Right, I'm tempted to call bullshit, but from the sound of things, this corset sounds like an incubus. Vortex said, crossing his broad arms. Male counterpart to succubus, natives of the Ring of Lust. They can travel to Earth, but it's limited, and even then it's regulated. For this corset to do what you've said, he'd have to have ties to some major players. How major we talking? Brief asked, dreading the answer. Oh, just former fallen angel who had a throne next to God himself, part of the infernal host, major. Vortex said, dryly. The only way demons, mainly hellborn, are able to enter the human world is through one of three ways. He lifted up his hand, and one finger. 1. Goetia magic. The Goetia are royal demons belonging to the Ars Goetia bloodline. Been around since the inception of hell itself, or when that Solomon guy invoked them, I dunno. But they keep their spells in their books. Grimoires they call them. Through these grimoires, they can make portals to the mortal realm, to do business with humans and fulfill contracts. That's high-level SHT. Brief nodded. So the Ars Goetia like Barbados, Amon, and Stolas exist? Vortex nodded. Yes, they do. There are more, but only 72 are bound to Solomon. They're the most popular and the most powerful. Brief cupped his chin. The forums back home would go crazy when learning of that, but did that mean that he was here because of the Goetia? Demon royalty. If what Vortex was getting at was true, then he was dealing with Corset's boss. He's already dealing with enough stuff as it is. Getting back on topic, the second way is to be invoked. Summoned from hell to the living world to perform a deed or service, usually to form a contract with a human, but this has died down in recent centuries. This in no way applies to you since you're human, and it doesn't work in reverse. Which leads into number 3. Vortex reached into his pocket, pulling out his phone and moving a compartment on the protective case, and from it, a shining rouge-violet gemstone encrusted in a ring. Asmodean crystals. They allow succubi and incubi specifically to travel to the mortal realm with the blessing of King Asmodeus himself. I've never heard of them being able to bring a human back to hell, so I dunno. Asmo as in the demon Asmodeus? Brief asked, gulping as Nebula perked up. You know him? I've read of him. He's one of the great demons in the occult, to say nothing of him being a fallen angel, and the Lord of Lust and other bad stuff, Brief said as he saw the hounds looking at him oddly. Oh, well, I'm kind of a fan of the occult. I frequent forums and do research on them, for, well, fun. Back then at least. He murmured to the side. So, Asmodeus is real? And Lucifer? They both are, unfortunately. Vortex replied, and Brief felt really cold. Asmodeus rules down in the Ring of Lust. But here? The Ring of Pride is Lucifer's throne. The Morningstar Hello Ben Shalim, Brief uttered, hand over his mouth. This wasn't dealing with some ghosts, or stalking when she turned. Even Corset, the worst of the lot, was toenail trimmings compared to this. This was the realm of the Lucifer. The literal devil himself. The one and only. Vortex nodded. Hey, kid. Brief looked up, his face downtrodden as Vortex took a deep breath. Listen to me, we'll get through this. Somehow. Here. Nebula pushed the notepad as Brief saw it, seeing the sketch. It reminded him of a tube with lines and layers within, with one layer larger than the rest at the top. With a singular line in the middle that had the words Hellevator in the middle. Ring of Pride ruled by Lucifer. Where we live. Only humans who die come here. Within that layer, several rings with names were listed within. Imp City. Houndsville Cannibal Colony. Leviatown. Pentagram City. Morningstar Palace. Baphometropolis. Bussington. South Detroit. Heck. Wait, there's another Detroit? Brief asked skeptically. And why was there a Canadian flag next to heck anyway? Lucifer has a funny sense of humor. Vortex shrugged as Brief read on. Ring of Greed ruled by Mammon. Anarcho-capitalism gone wild, filled with mafiosos, cheapskates, and stockbrokers. Ring of Gluttony ruled by Beelzebub. Where I work. Lots of food production plants and restaurants. Half the people use mobility scooters. The other half are predatory cannibals. Ring of Lust ruled by Asmodeus. Vortex's boss lives there. STRP clubs galore and XXX movie studios. Nice resorts and hotels. Don't drop the soap. Ring of Wrath ruled by Satan. Wastelands. Prairies. Hell's breadbasket with loads of farms. Tons of soulstorms, dangerous wildlife, and cowboys though. Recommend the prairie oysters. Ring of Envy ruled by Leviathan. Fashion salons everywhere. Got stabbed once down there though. Makeup and linen sweatshops galore. Ring of Sloth ruled by Belphegor. Great hospitals and medical care, takes for FING ever to get an appointment. Otherwise nice place. Customer service ISCRP though. Brief looked back up to the two. This isn't what I was expecting. He said. And why do dead humans only stay in the Pride Ring? No one knows except for King Lucifer. Nebula replied. But the Pride Ring is the biggest of the 7 rings of hell, and that's due to the sinners overpopulating it. Pentagram City, heck, Cannibal Colony. Nasty places, she said, shaking her head. We just make do with what we got out here in Houndsville. Yeah, you guys are hellhounds, but are there other hellborn too? I noticed names like Imp City and Baphometropolis in here, and you mentioned succubi too. Are they other hellborn demons too? You catch on quick, kid. Vortex nodded. But yeah, hellborn demons include those. So, now you know about hell. And Asmodean crystals, as you can see from that chart, can only be handed out by one person. Someone who has ties to this corset, who sounds like an old bird of an incubus. Brief took a deep breath, seeing Vortex tap on the layer of lust, on a specific name, Asmodeus. He had a hand go to his lap, instinctively covering his privates and clenching his legs together. So what's the deal with those crystals then? Various kinds of crystals are given out by the 7 deadly sins, or demon kings of hell, the cardinal 7. They go by many titles. Vortex added. They imbue them with a piece of their essence and the users to make the crystal, giving them the ability to traverse from hell to the mortal world. Brief nodded. Naturally, only the user can use the crystal, and can't be used by anyone else. Moreover, every time you use it, the demon king who made it will know where, when, for how long, whole 9. So much for borrowing his crystal then. I see. I was always curious how Corset was able to take soul energy from those who died to make ghosts. I should have learned more in those ghost factories me and the sisters wrecked, he murmured to himself. Ghost factories? Nebula asked. Kid, sounds to me like you've been on a road yourself. You could say that. Look, kid, Vortex said, sighing. My gut tells me that this corset of yours is ears deep in bad juju. I don't know why you're here, or who brought you here, but I can guess, and all the answers tell me, get this kid the F out of here. So that's what we're gonna do, ASAP. Till then, you stay out of sight, you stay quiet, and we'll get you back home. You'd really do that for me? Brief asked, amazed. But you barely know me. That's right, Brief. Nebula said, and Brief looked up, and the hound girl smiled warmly. I want to protect Tex as much as he does me, but you're not supposed to be here, honey. You seem like a good, sweet kid. The humans down here aren't. It ain't fair. She turned to Vortex, who smiled back. We will help you get back to Earth. Yep. Vortex nodded. And then, maybe, we can get on with our lives. Lucky them. Thank you both so much. I'm sorry I've made life so difficult for you. Enough of that. We're happy to help. That said, Sweet Pea Nebula ate some sausage and cut up some pancakes. You did come at a rough time. We're scheduling a house party today that we had planned for weeks, and we need to set up a bit, finalize the finishing touches. You did? Brief asked, feeling even more of a burden on these nice dog people. Oh geez, sorry. Oh no, not at all. Don't you apologize, honey. Nebula pouted, reaching over and ruffling his hair. Brief could see the depth of her melons through her apron. Yeah, she makes stocking and scanty combined look flat by comparison. We can make this work. She winced a bit, smiling awkwardly. When we host the party, would you mind staying in the guest room? No one goes in there, and we will be sure to keep everyone out of that part of the house. Yeah, sure. Brief nodded. I can do that. Do you need any help with setting up the party? Nebula pouted, sniffling. Aw, sweetie, you wanna help. I appreciate it, Brief, Vortex said, putting a hand on the silver-haired hound's shoulder. But, we're hosting a party of mostly hellhounds, and he tapped his nose. Have sharp noses. Even several hours later people might catch a whiff of you. Given my work, I can explain away what's already come off of you, but anything too fresh will give you away. Oh, I see. Sorry. You made this great breakfast for me and I want to repay you, is all. If you want to pay back the favor, just keep to yourself. Oh, and get cleaned up too. Vortex added. I grabbed some clothes that may fit you and will help block your scent. They're on the counter in your room. Might be a touch too big, though. The towering hellhound said as he got up. You go shower up first, I need to tend to the backyard to get it set up just so I'll get dirty again. Well, okay. Brief nodded, taking a deep breath. Mr. Vortex, Miss Nebula. Thank you. Just call me Tex, kid. The one-eyed hound said. And no prob. And you can call me Eula, remember? Nebula smiled. Ruffling his hair again. Oh, you are just so cute. Vortex stopped at the doorway, giving the plump hound girl a sideways glance as though to warn, don't get too attached, babe. Okay, well, time to get cleaned up and dressed, Brief said, getting off his chair and walking past the two to the upstairs and his guest room. He found the spare clothes Vortex laid out on a nightstand, mainly a way too baggy t-shirt with a mean-looking dog on it hoisting dumbbells, and baggy basketball shorts with a few rips and tears in them. He went into the side bathroom, strpped off his clothes and got under the shower head, feeling the water come on down. He's stuck in hell for now. With the only people who could help get him back to Earth being tied to the Ars Goetia demons of King Solomon, or the fallen angels who became demon lords of their respective domains in hell, all loyal to Lucifer of all things. He took a deep sigh, hugging himself as the water warmed up. How, and why does this keep happening to him? It was evening by the time Luna pulled up to the address, departing the cab after paying the fee. Try not to get roofied, Toots. The owl sinner leered from the cab. Happens most of the time, Mwahehe. The silver-haired hound glared at the cab driver as he departed down the street as she took a deep breath. Thankfully the house wasn't hard to miss due to the lines of cars parked along the side near other houses. She felt her phone vibrate and looked down. Gone be out L8, eat what you want in the fridge. Love you 3-foot Blitzo. She rolled her eyes as she pocketed her phone. Of course he had left for some errands, when they got back to their apartment, and she just knew from the way he gazed at their two co-workers and the cursing spat he had with the Helluvator app in the living room that he was going to stalk Moxie and Millie on their anniversary date in lust. Poor, lonely creep of an adoptive father she had. Besides, she can tend to herself. She's a strong girl, as she saw her reflection in a silver car. Her form-fitting red dress with spiderweb motifs, showing off plenty of leg and a smidgen of melons as she smiled and posed a bit. Looking good, she murmured as she turned about and walked towards the house, seeing plenty of hounds interacting outside of it as she took a deep breath to steady herself. Luna's not one for big-time gatherings. Not because she doesn't like them, oh no, just inexperienced. Blitzo made sure she didn't go to any big-time parties, so whenever IMP hosts a kill party for a job well done when they take out a target is when she can enjoy some aspects of that atmosphere. Then again, going off of what that sinner alluded to, Blitzo may have a point. But DMN it, she wanted to meet new people. Only time she ever went to a party of this magnitude was at work, trying to infiltrate some frat or sorority house on Earth to take out a target. Usually some bullies or hazers she'd have to lure into the ideal kill zones for the imps to take out. She saw some people give her a sideways glance while they resumed chatting and talking. The smell of booze, smokes and food thick in the air as she entered. The silver-furred hound felt herself bump against someone. Oh, hey. Luna's ears fell as she saw who she bumped into. Two large and towering hounds with scars all over, and were both fat and muscular, reminding her of those strongman humans as the hounds glared down at her. Hey, sorry. Didn't see ya, she said, awkwardly. They glanced at one another, shrugging. Don't worry about it, pup. Luna thought, disappointed. Maybe I should have worn the fishnets instead. The two hounds went back to talking. Upon closer inspection, Luna couldn't really tell what gender they were. Shrugging, she went deeper into the party and felt joy and relief fill her. Finally, a party without Blitzo being an overprotective moron about it. A chance to meet new people and new friends, and... You Luna. Him. Luna saw him approach, dressed in great-fitting jeans and a collared shirt as Vortex sauntered over and offered his hand. So glad you could make it. He sounded happy, joyous even, as she blushed up at the taller dark-furred hound. Glad to make it. She replied before taking a deep breath to steady herself, kicking herself mentally for acting like some love-struck awkward schoolgirl as she shook his big strong hand. Which she'd never admit. So, how's it going? She asked, grabbing her long mane of silver hair and stroking it, a nervous tick on her part. Going great. Setting this up took a bit, but it's going great. He gestured to the kitchen and the backyard, filled with loads of other hellhounds, and the few imps and other hellborn soliciting and having fun. Must be couples. They're all laughing, telling stories, jokes. In the living room she can see other hounds watching a wrathball game. Hooting and laughing occurred when a wrath shark leapt out of the moat surrounding the field to elbow slam a poor ball carrier as she sniggered. Got to keep an eye on that to see if that comes back again. Get a photo of that and send it to Moxie, Got drinks in the fridge, so help yourself. Oh, and we got street tacos out back. Luna sniffed the air, picking up on the food and smiling. It smelled so good. She went over to the fridge, opening it and finding it full of beer bottles and cans. Taking one, she drank it down. So, how's it going? Vortex asked, and Luna almost gagged on her alcohol as she composed herself. Oh me. Well what does she talk about it? All she does in her life, well, work and home. Work being sitting at a desk, taking stupid calls, setting up appointments, and maybe sometimes going out to kill a target. And being on her phone browsing dating sites, memes, and Sinstagram. And home being, well, the same. Only with Blitzo being around and him laughing his butt off or swearing at the neighbors to shut the hell up. Oh you know. Will work. F that DLVRY was awful. Oh, yeah, trust me, I know about the grind. That boss of yours workin' ya hard? Vortex asked as he reached in and pulled out a cold one, using his claw to puncture it and drink from it. She had to use the peeler herself. So hot. Yeah, like, we got so many clients. Like, so many sinners want so many people dead you have, haha, no idea. She forced a laugh, sounding more like a bark. God, why was she so bad at this? Business boomin' then? He asked with a smirk. Yep. Totally. Okay, one brew down, all of them to go. She reached inside, getting a bottle and using the bottle opening to do it. Just, buried up to my neck in requests. Thanks Satan for tax write-offs on ammo, right? Right? Oh, I hear ya. Vortex was chilling, drinking away as Luna drank from her bottle like a man dying of thirst. Got myself a new gig coming up soon too. Verosika's gonna be doing a thing for the V's. Luna paused in her drinking, looking back at him. Wait, the V's? The strongest coalition of overlords in hell? Those guys? Luna asked, suddenly looking at the TV in a bit of paranoia. Rumor had it that Overlord Vox was able to look through any electrified gizmo. More hysterical rumors had it he could manifest through them, too. Yep. Mind keepin' a secret? He asked, and Luna nodded dumbly. Yeah, they want Verosika for some kind of PWN music video they're doing. He whispered. Not sure if she's gonna be taking part in the porno or singing it, but hey, need to know basis you know. Why yeah, Luna felt a bit of pride swell within her. He trusted her with a secret. That has to mean they're friends. Deep friends. Best friends. Maybe even TX. A rich, syrupy voice that cut through Luna's reverie as she turned, and two great melons wobbled in her face as her eyes widened. Come on, baby, we're about to start up a pong table and oh who's this lil lady? The silver-haired hound grinned, and Luna looked at her. Stacked, curvy and plump and dressed in Daisy Dukes that hugged her peach and soft midsection along with a low-lying top that showed melons galore as if she were a southern-fed belle. Hey babe, he embraced her, and their lips met as Luna's mouth hung open. That's right. Vortex had a girlfriend. So many memories on that spring break day of fun kills and meeting him for the first time, along with Moxie getting hammered and being an, admittedly, adorable souse. There was even a giant monster. All in all, 7 out of 10 party. It was easy to repress certain details of that crazy day. And now that bit that she had forgotten until now was sloppily kissing right in front of her. This is Luna, that hound I told you about. He smiled, gesturing to Luna, suddenly very nervous and self-conscious as she took stock of the situation. This was Vortex's partner. A hound as gorgeous and laid back as Vortex could have his pick of the litter, and he settled on what were those? G-cups? H? 2 watermelons perched atop a prize-winning pumpkin muffin top. Thunder thighs as well. She glanced down at her own, svelte, lithe, slender, bony frame. A string bean like her wouldn't even get stuck in Vortex's teeth. Oh, that's right. You're the adopted daughter of his boss X, aren't you? The bright and beaming hound girl said as she shook Luna's hand. I'm Nebula, by the way. El Luna. The young woman replied, dumbly as she shook back. You hungry at all, girl? We got plenty of food here besides the street tacos, big line out there too, lemme tell ya. Nebula Mock whispered as she gestured to the stacks of food. Pizza boxes stacked and opened. And containers and bowls of chips, cookies, and some celeries and greens. Malt beer. Red meat off the bone. And not at the moment. Maybe later. Luna forced a grin, which looked to be more a rictus than a smile, every furtive fantasy she'd allowed herself for the night had just been crushed under Nebula's huge, luscious peach. So, how did you meet and you two, together? That came out wrong. Luna wanted to hide and bang her head against the wall. Does she have no filter right now like Blitzo now? Oh, you wanna know how we met? Nebula asked, giggling. Just at a grocery store, bumping into each other and I was like, this lean cut of meat shoppin' for veggies and supplements and I just complimented his shirt. She blushed, looking over at the muscular hound with lust in her eyes. I may have had other things on my mind, but so did he. You can say that again, baby. But yeah, that's the short of it, we bumped into each other by chance in the produce aisle, and complimented the packaging while thinking of the contents, you could say. Vortex smirked, his hand around behind Nebula. She cooed, clearly being groped back there while Luna's eyebrow twitched. And I offered to take her out for lunch one day, then things kind of spiraled from there, in the best way. You just never know when you'll meet the love of your life, you know. Nebula said, resting her head against his bulging pecs. Luna felt the sick swell of envy rise in her gut. Well, I mean, considering Vortex and his line of work, Luna uttered, trying to pierce it together. Are you, like Dash? Verosica pays well, even if I'm not the biggest fan of her music, or of her in particular, Nebula shrugged. And yeah, I know he has had to, well, SCK a few pp in his line of work, hard not to considering Verosica keeps an entourage of absolute horn dogs. She leaned in and whispered, but hey, it pays well and I'm able to fulfill my dream of becoming a baker, and the best ones are down in Gluttony. It's expensive, but so worth it for the experience. And I have loads of mouthwash too, to get the taste of cop PP out. Not fun at all, let me tell you. Vortex added, huffing into his palm and sniffing it, putting on an exaggerated grimace. But it's a living. Is that so? Luna asked, her eyes going back to Nebula's larger figure. You make the commute there? Down to Gluttony? If I lived there, I'd be either eaten up or in a mobility scooter or something, she laughed. You know old saying. She said, patting her potbelly. Work in gluttony, put on a hundy. Work in lust, you get a bust. Work in envy, you gon' get stabby. And you put on 100+ in all the right places. Vortex growled, licking his chops as Luna was grinding her teeth as she felt the sinking feeling in her gut grow. How stupid she was to even contemplate getting with him, or even entertain the idea of possibly getting into an affair. She never had a chance. Easy Tex, you'll get all this cushion later. Nebula giggled and scratched his chin, the black-furred hound growled in lust and want, his fervently wagging tail putting a lead-like weight in Luna's gut. She wanted to dig a hole in the yard and jump in it. For now, we gotta be good hosts. Luna, honey, come on and join us, she said, taking Luna's hand, her broad face alight with a bright, shining, achingly genuine smile. We can teach you the rules. I'll be right after you. Gonna, get something to eat. She said, drinking the rest of her bottle down hard. And drink. Alrighty, you know where to find us. Nebula turned around, walking and dancing to the music as she swayed her peach and Vortex lingered his gaze. What a woman. He said to himself as Luna looked back at him, feeling the buzz as she gulped her bottle down in record time. So yeah, help yourself to whatever you like, Luna. Mi casa su casa. He said, gesturing to the food and the fridge. Why yeah, we'll join ya. She replied as Vortex ruffled her head a bit as he heard a loud collection of ohs from the room over. Oh yeah. That's a touchdown for sure. Vortex exclaimed, excited. And there's the murder crows going after the ref, ha. Brilliant, he said, smiling without a care as he went on to manage the party as Luna looked outside the window, her eyes meeting Nebula's as the woman was chatting up a storm and she waved back at her. She wanted to convince Vortex to cheat on a nice, kind, loving jolly lady like her. She turned to the fridge, feelings of envy, self-loathing, regret and anger swell within her as she found the hardest beer bottles, 3 of them, in her hands as she uncorked one and began to drink, going out to join them. God, what was she becoming, Blitzo or something? Least from what she has heard, Prince Stola's wife sounded like a real smarmy bee. Nebula looked like anything but. She began to chug faster as she went outside, going over to the pong table to ignore the conflicting storm of feelings inside her. She's already here. May as well make the most of it. The party continued, and Luna found herself being flung around like how a moth would in the middle of a twister. Seeing so many things, and all of it coming and going in a blur as she saw Vortex and Nebula mingle about being good hosts. Nebula would chat and laugh it up with friends over cocktails while Vortex played the role of overseer and settling things down when they got too crazy. But whenever the couple passed each other by, the silver-haired hound girl can see it in their eyes. They absolutely loved each other. And not in the overly stupid sappy way Moxie goes on about Millie and vice versa. It was a quiet confidence. A gaze of longing and recognition, to go along with them eyeing each other up, coping a light feel, before going back to being the hosts they were. And there Luna stood by, hand holding a bottle or a glass, draining its contents and then grabbing another. And on. And on. And on. Just to deal with it, this shit show of a night. Getting that sloshing buzz to turn into a numbing fog to deal with the swell of hopelessness building within her as she glanced around the party for other hounds. Too short, or fat, too tall and lanky, yellow, rotting teeth. The ones that were attractive, or looked engaging, fun and kind. All taken, their partner or spouse by their side and warding her wandering eyes off with quiet glares. The thought of revising her image crossed her mind. Take a few notes from Nebula's robust cookbook to lure Tex away. Maybe just let go and put on 100 or so pounds. She punted the notion to the curb. The mere thought of Moxie Uno reversing her weight loss ads and throwing them in her face with that smug look on his ratty little face, no, that would be hell beyond imagining. Not to mention she wouldn't be able to fight and take part in assassinations if she blew up in size. Blitzo would probably nag and be more annoying if she did so, or worse, support her and lavish her with snacks, or Satan forbid hound biscuits. Besides, doing it for someone else just felt wrong even thinking about it. Besides, not all figures are the same. Nebula won the F lottery, since usually packing on 100 pounds means looking like some chunky potato, with lumpy curves in all the wrong places. She looked like a FRTLTY goddess. Luna could see the corners of her vision going hazy as she stumbled back into the house, ignoring the calls to take part in some beer pong game. In this state she'd be lucky if she could hit the table, much less sink any. Stupid game for dumb frat boys, anyway. The Wrathball game was in overtime, the increasingly drunk and loud laughing and cheering was grating on her ears. Just then, Luna remembered why she didn't come to these kinds of parties unless it was for work. She hated them. She had gone into this night hoping to have fun, but all she found was cruel confirmation of what she always knew: she wasn't like these hellhounds. They all acted too well adjusted. Well raised. They had families. Loved ones. Siblings. Fathers. Mothers. A pack. What did she have? Where did she come from? A kennel where it was every hound for themselves, where the managers were indifferent at best and sadistic at worst. She'd been a castaway before Blitzo came into her life and gave her some semblance of normalcy. Even a job too. Blitzo gave me a sense of normalcy. She thought to herself, incredulous. Belphegor's ballsack, I really am hopeless. Blitzo did his best to be loving and supportive, even if he was about as subtle and grating as a swarm of sandpaper gnats. It just wasn't the same. It never had been. She didn't know what she wanted, what she craved, but as a hellhound she knew it just wasn't enough. She was an outcast, an outsider. Alone among her people. Alone in all of hell. She was becoming familiar with the trash bin and the fridge, going back and forth, guzzling down bottles as she sat on an open spot of the couch, watching the morass of colors that was the Wrathball game and post-game. Or skulking in a corner and watching the party world go by as she gave a smile and waved to some hounds who waved back. Sheesh, they have multi-eyed hounds now. Parent some tentacle monster or something. Some of the hounds seemed to be blurring, leaving after images like some shitty fighting anime. More booze. That'll fix her eyes. She chugged it down. Cerberus Lager, 16%. Really hard good SHT, push away the loathing. Let it be drowned. Soon the music began to pick up, and her ears flattened as she groaned, looking outside. Vortex was up on a pole now, wearing nothing but a glittery red banana hammock which looked to be holding a 6-foot, 7-foot, 8-foot bunch. Nebula was hooting and hollering, throwing dollar bills as everyone laughed and clapped. Good for her to have such an absolute hunk. A loving supportive one that seemed to be the ideal hound. Hellhounds as built and gorgeous as Tex invariably tended to be the tiresome, alpha male fuckboy type. But not Tex. Is even a hellhound? Luna mused, even her thoughts were starting to slur. F in unicorn is what E is. She pulled out her phone feeling a text notification, shuddering as she loosed some belching hiccups before drinking some more. In lust W8ing from ID8, keep you posted, love you, Blitzo. She rolled her eyes, setting her phone down on the counter as she groaned and began to walk off, hand brushing against something that fell and died a glassy death on the tile floor. She popped open the fridge and grabbed another bottle, wasting no time capping it and guzzling it down. Lady. Luna's eyes lolled over, seeing some Leviathan woman, her head bobbing about on a long, boneless neck, going in nauseating circles. That's, like, the 30th bottle you've drank. You okay? Should slow down. Luna hiccuped again, belching. I'll go furfurty if I wanna, fug you. Luna brushed past the demon as she marched her way past. God, just, got to get out of this loud crowd. She heard a muttered, "B," and she replied with a middle finger thrown back behind her head as she headed for the stairs. She almost fell forward, the intoxicated hound crawling up the steps, letting out an acid, throat-burning burp, bitter bile making her mouth water in the worst way. GNNNGH, gotta find bathroom. F. She went to one, with a sign displaying a fire hydrant hanging high on it. She jostled the knob, finding it to be locked. She could hear raunchy sounds inside, growls and yelps and and other, nonverbal sounds. Oh, go F somewhere else, she yelled, slurring as she leaned against the wall. She heard cries of surprise and crashing down with made her snort with laughter. Nha ha 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 OF nuggets. Double F, she's starting to curse like Blitzo. She set her hands on the wall, practically crawling along as she stumbled down the hall, towards another door. She opened it, seeing nothing but an empty dark bedroom. She closed the door, groaning as she stumbled to the next, finding yet another sign. Donut offer store Rajum. She read, the letters seemed to be swimming about on the placard like fish in a tank. Worst case scenario, it had been for her to defile, or a window. She could explain the mess later. She heard a cry of shock and surprise as she stumbled on in, ignoring it as she looked around, kicking the door closed behind her. It looked like a bedroom, a big one. She saw a door to her right as she stumbled over to it, then leaned against the wall to prevent herself from falling over. Please don't be a closet, what I got ain't stayin' put much longer. She turned her head and sniffed. Blee smells like work. Wait. She raised her head, and on the bed with his head hiding in a book was some beige-skinned freak dressed in a t-shirt and shorts that looked about 1 billion sizes too big. She sniffed the air again. Jesus, F, you reek of the living world. Sid you just die or something, freak? She uttered, the book lowering as she saw 3 heads. With no eyes, and grimacing wide teeth. Fy Jew got 3 heads. She muttered. Pointing lazily at the sinner. One wasn't ugly enough, Furia. He droned as Luna hiccuped, and she kept her mouth closed. Three-head noticed and pointed at the door. Bathroom's in there, he said, and she noticed how soft his voice was. Must have been some F-creeper or MLSTR. Had to be. Now wasn't the time, though, as she bolted for the bathroom, finding a toilet and going onto her knees as it all came hurtling out in a surge. She coughed, gagging and groaning before she expelled more contents from her stomach as she gripped the toilet bowl. Even in that state, she could sense the faller enter. His shadow cover her. Easy, just let it out. The sinner said as she looked back, teeth bared, and snarled as her hair stood on end. I know how to barf, on my dash. She paused, then turned back in and gagged some more before puking some more, F. She felt him get closer, slowly, quietly. If she'd been about 10 beers lighter, she would have punted the ugly F clean across the room. Instead, she just puked some more. The faller was close now, reaching out. If the creepy child FNDLNG fruit so much as laid a hand on her, she would. Luna blinked in surprise as a pair of hands gently gathered up her long, flowing hair and held it back, clear of the mess she was making. A hand set down on her back, patting lightly. It'll be okay, he said in that inexplicably soft voice, his sympathy radiating off him in impossibly genuine waves. Just let it out. You'll be okay. The rubs felt nice, but he's still probably a creeper. Who definitely watches. OFF off, PP. He moved to step back, only for her to reach out and grab his ankle, something bubbling within her that wasn't her guts. Ugh, wait, she groaned, looking out of the corner of her eye and seeing the red-haired sinner looking back at her. I didn't say stop. I may need a hick hand. She panted, her hands gripping the bowl's sides. The sinner returned, his three heads working in remarkable succession as she sighed and breathed. Just breathe. In and out. It'll come out. No SHT Sherlow dash. Luna's retort was cut off by the burst-off bile as she writhed on the bathroom floor, the girl letting out a cry, F that hurts. Well, I'm guessing you drank a lot, so. Oh, don't FJ herp judge me, you're down here too, and you're F fresh as hell for a sinner. Three-head said nothing, his mouth vanishing from her blurry sight. Still smell human too. Well, you're not completely wrong, he replied, the tone indicating cringe. Ha, got him. DMNF in, right, Luna mumbled, feeling her insides burn as she took deep breaths and smacked her lips. F, this sucks. K, I think I'm done. There's such a thing as too much fun, huh? The three-headed, mop-haired demon said, laughing nervously as he flushed the toilet. F in fun, Luna grumbled into the bowl, seeing it all swirl away as she looked at her swirling hazy reflection. Bullshit. I haven't had any fun since I got here. Why'd I even come? She stammered, feeling well up in her eyes as she breathed raggedly. I F in, hate parties and people NNN. Wanna talk about it? The sinner asked, again his sincerity was so achingly genuine she could almost smell it. After a long pause she said, blinking, Wah. Why you seem really down, said Three-Head. I mean, people go to parties to have fun, right? I mean, most people do. Ha. I never would have been able to work up the nerve to come to a party like this. You're braver than me, that's for sure. She can see some beige-looking sausage-fingered claw go up to rub the back of his heads. Sorry, I'm rambling. You just seem like you need someone to talk to. Luna wiped off her mouth and eyed up the sinner, a hot swell of something blossoming in her chest. You wanna talk? Really? Sure. He chirped, smiling, three heads swimming about in the air over his shoulders as her eyes failed spectacularly to focus. I'd love to help any way I can. Luna rose unsteadily to her feet, the short, scrawny sinner's neck craning up and up, his smile fading. His head was about level with her chest, so he was a short faller. She looked down at him, eyes glowing red as she reached down and grabbed him by the scruff, effortlessly pulling him off his feet, bringing him eye to eye as he let out a MEP. You wanna talk? She slurred, the sinner wincing at the distillery fumes that was her breath. K. She tossed him across the room, the sinner yelping as he bounced on the bed. He looked up to see the tall hellhound stumble out of the lit bathroom, her eyes glowing scarlet in the dark of the bedroom. Whoa 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 whoa, he babbled as she closed in. What were you doing? Luna loomed over him, her eyes glassy, glazed, her muzzle curled into what was neither a smile or a grimace. You said why wanted tea talk, Ginge. Less talk. The sinner wailed as she toppled forwards. Vortex sighed as he picked up the last few scraps of the party. It was some horrid hour in the morning and almost all of the guests had since staggered home or called a cab, leaving him and Eula to pick up the pieces. In some places literally, as a great number of beer bottles and glasses had since gone to that great recycling heap in the sky. Or the great recycling pit in the abyss. Either way, broken glass abounded. Such as it was with hound parties. It was worth it, though. Touching bases with the neighbors, saying hi to old friends, and even meeting some new ones. The food had gone over well. Real well. We planned to feed twice as many hounds than we invited and still barely have crumbs left, well. There were still a few leftovers, of course, but they're unlikely to survive breakfast tomorrow. Eula was off somewhere, cleaning this, mopping that, shooing out stragglers, though the last of those were long gone. Still though, something was eating at him. Luna. He was glad she'd shown up, really he was, but after a while he just sort of lost track of her. He knew she was shy. Awkward. She probably had no idea how to actually act around other hounds. He'd known this and invited her anyway, hoping to crack her out of that shell of hers. In retrospect, that had been optimistic. In retrospect, he should have stuck with her, introduced her to other hounds, anything. But then, he had a party to attend to, people to chat up, all that good host stuff. Now, he was wondering if he should have started small. A small get-together with some of his friends. A night at the pool bar. Bowling. Anything but a huge party. Now, he feared, the poor girl simply gave up on the situation and bounced, miserable and alone. Part of him hoped she'd shacked up with someone and left that way, but he wasn't counting on it. He knew her type. Maybe he should give her a call. He walked into the kitchen, dumping the last of the trash into the wide-mouthed bin. He pulled out his phone and dialed her up, hoping she'd pick up. A peeling rock lick cut through the air underscored by a thrumming buzz. He turned to see a hell phone on the counter, bouncing about as it rang. SHT, he grunted, dropping the call. I guess she forgot it. He walked over and picked it up, smiling at the picture on the screen, Luna, smiling reluctantly as her adoptive imp father grinning ear to ear hanging off of her for a selfie. He knew where she worked, he'd just have to return it tomorrow, maybe en route to that studio too. All right Han, Eula called out as she descended the stairs, a huge bin in her arms. That's all of it. We'll do some polishing tomorrow when we're not both beat. Sounds good to me, babe, he said. Pocketing his phone. Eula put down the bin and tied up the bag. What's that you got? Luna's phone, he replied, showing her the picture. She must have left it here by accident. Yeah, girl just up and vanished at some point, said Eula, sighing sadly. She looked pretty down last time I saw her. Poor girl. Not everyone's a party hound, I guess. She's just shy, said Vortex, frowning. I shoulda invited her to a smaller get-together. Ease her into things. Yeah, maybe, Eula said, nodding and smiling. Ah well. Next time, then. Down for inviting her to bowling next week? He asked with a light grin with his one good eye. If she wants to come, sure. A low, heavy thud sounded through the house, causing them both to jump. Everyone gone, babe? Vortex said, slowly, his brow furrowing. Yes, she said, eyes widening. I checked every room but. Another thud, followed by a muted exclamation. And he felt his blood turn to ice, and he saw Nebula's expression mirror his own. Brief. They cried in unison. Are you okay? Brief cried. Ow wow, the drunk hellhound girl groaned, slumped up against the bedside table, rubbing the back of her head. The girl, Luna, had gotten up to make piddles, only for her paw to catch on a loose sheet and send her tumbling off the bed. She'd managed to get back on her feet, only for her eyes to go cross-eyed, stumbling backwards and hitting her head on the table side. Brief was quietly impressed that she was still this drunk. It had been hours since she'd come stumbling in, barfing her guts out into his toilet. The time since then was more or less an unending deluge of gripes, insecurities, fears, and banned recommendations. Each subject punctuated with long spells of ugly crying. From what he could make out, her name was Luna, she was a 22-year-old hellhound, and she worked as a secretary and horndog bait for her dad's Asinitin Peeps on Earth business. She grew up in a kennel after her parents F off, and no one wanted a mean be what bites, except her dad Blitz, 'cause he's a dumb annoying ass, but she loved him so much. It was a lot to take in all at once, to be honest. Room spinnin', mumbled Luna, squeezing her eyes shut. Here, let me help you, said Brief, hopping off the bed and reaching down to the tall hellhound. You hit your head pretty good, you should probably lay down. Come on, up you get. She reached out and grabbed his hands. The smaller human grunted as he hoisted the hell beast to her feet. She wasn't huge like Mr. Vortex or Ms. Nebula, but she was still much bigger than him. Almost 7 feet tall, not thin but lithe, like a jaguar, with long, muscular legs. He wouldn't be surprised if she weighed over 200 pounds. With some white peach to boot. K. I'm good, fire crotch, paws off, she grumbled, shoving his hands away. Luna tottered on her feet again for a moment, blinking out of sequence, frowning in irritation. Oops. Never hick mind. Timber. Without warning she toppled forwards, onto Brief. The slender boy yelped, crumpling under her weight as they both fell back onto the bed. Definitely more than 200 pounds. Ouch. Something soft, plush, and warm enveloped his, well, entire head. Brief grunted, wiggling and turning his head until he could breathe from the mass encasing him. What was that? The dull, thudding beat of her heart drumming in his ear left few alternatives. His face was right in her, a furious blush burned in his cheeks, his pale skin turning scarlet red as he wriggled about under her. After some blind struggling, he finally managed to lift her limp weight off of him, his hands sinking deep into her soft, warm, and surprisingly robust bosom, cupping them. Compared to the rest of her they're not. I could get lost in there and die, like with Ms. Nebula, thought Brief, a thin trail of blood dripping from his nose, his face bright red. But they'd be DS on a human woman. She was for sure bigger than Panty, and even Stocking too. That's for sure. Yeah, Luna mumbled, semi-conscious, her eyes glazed as a luminescent blush formed in his cheeks. HN harder up, Tex. Ah. Brief realized what he was doing and pulled his hands away as though they'd become red hot. OHSHT. I'm sorry. Get M back there. Squeeze M, she slurred, her eyes still unfocused, as she grabbed his hands and put them back on her melons, pressing them in, her thighs on his lap and clenching around his waist as she straddled him. You're SF in CC Tex. Just push me down NHYRP, fug me already. I'm not, Brief began to say when the door burst open, Nebula and Vortex rushing in, the two of them panting and wide-eyed and alert. Brief. Are you okay? We heard a noise. Vortex cried, his eye locking onto them, his expression shifting from worry to absolute shock. Oh. Nebula said nothing, her mouth dropping open, her eyes wide. Brief blinked and took stock of his situation. He presently had a hammered hellhound girl in a skimpy dress straddling his hips, her tail wagging like a metronome, holding his hands on her bosom. A wolfish yet awkward smile spread across Vortex's features. We can come back in, what, 5-10 minutes? Moi. Luna grunted, looking over her shoulder. Tex. Oh, you can't tell your port, now. The act of turning her head obliterated what little balance she had, causing the soused hound to topple over onto her side, bouncing on the bed as her legs let go of the orange-haired boy. Woo boy let me off ride, I done like the spinnies. What was going on here? Nebula exclaimed, gasping, her eyes wide as she turned on the red-haired boy. Briefers rock, were you taking advantage of that girl? No. Brief cried, shaking his head furiously, hands to himself. I was just she was really dizzy and fell and... Babe, seriously? Vortex said, bemused as he walked forth, hand on his girlfriend's shoulder. He's a scrawny kid. She could tear him limb from limb if she wanted. She could. Brief squawked. I could, mumbled Luna, hand raised and pointing to the skies. Done it before, LL do it, Gaines shoulda seen me rip those in human suits herp tar ribbons, she panted as the plump hound walked into the room. Brief. Nebula gasped in shock, her hands to her mouth. Was she forcing herself on you, baby? Brief could only stammer useless noises, blushing like a lantern as Nebula bared her teeth, eyes glowing red and growling throatily as she marched over to Luna, who was busy making raspberries in her exhales. How dare you sully this sweet little angel, you motherfew. Whoa there, babe, said Vortex, grabbing her arm and pulling her back, chuckling. The kid's pants re-on. I think he's still got his V-card. Vortex. Nebula exclaimed, affronted. I don't, actually, Brief grumbled, crossing his arms as he sighed. Ugh F. Where, Luna muttered, groaning. Where am I, again? Still at my place, Luna. Vortex made his way over to her, smiling warmly. How are you feeling? Tex. When did you Luna groaned and sat up, rubbing the back of her head. Feels like little imps are trying to smash their way out of my head with hammers. She noticed Brief, blinking slowly, focusing for the first time in hours. Oh, hey, it's you. Where'd your other hee-hee-sai heads go? She asked, pointing his way as her pointed finger waved before she stifled a belch. Brief droned, struggling to find the right words. Whatever, Luna grumbled, kicking her feet over the bedside, SHT still all spinny it's like AF. Carousel. F it, whatever it's called. With the horses and SHT blitzes obsessed with those rides, I swear to God. Hey, Luna, honey, said Nebula, walking over, calm down. We have some leftover tacos and you're welcome to them. She placed a hand on her shoulder, offering a warm motherly air. That sounds amazing, I'm starving, she slurred, attempting to get to her feet, Nebula steadying her. Hey, fire crotch. I'm going for some tacos, you down? And not very hungry. Thank you, Ms. L. Luna. Brief managed to say, still coming down from the roller coaster he'd just been on. Not the first time he was called fire crotch, but the way she said it didn't sound like an insult like he would usually hear back in Dayton City High. Or from them. She said as Nebula helped her out of the room, before turning back, pointing at him. You better still be here when I get back. I got more stuff to tell you so you like to cuddle, Ginge. She winked at him, eyes half-lidded as Brief puckered in his lips and gulped, blushing. See cuddling? I'm gonna cuddle the SHT out of you, you formerly three-headed dork. She growled, but giggling and smiling. Nice guys like you make me wanna wrap my legs round your headin'. Okay. It's Taco Tuesday for you, honey, Nebula grumbled, pulling her out of the room. As they walked down the hall, he could hear them say, how come he only has one head now? He put the others away. He like, AF King Ghidorah turtle guy, now. Sure, honey, Nebula replied as they walked down the hall. Whatever you say. Sinners weird like that, muttered Luna. Say Jew think he's got 3. Let's get you buy ye a glass of water too, while we're at it. 1. 2. 3. 3 pp. Ha ha ha, Luna cackled drunkenly before sighing. Just imagine. Vortex stood silently, waiting for them to be truly gone before turning to Brief, smiling wryly. Trouble seems to find you, kid. Tell me about it, he said, mentally, before sighing heavily. I'm sorry she just kinda barged in here and, used the toilet. After that, I couldn't get her to leave. That must have been 2 hours ago. Vortex quirked an eyebrow. Oh yeah? If what we walked in on was 2 hours in the making, I'm sorry. Nothing like that. Brief cried, hands raised in defense. She's drunk. Incredibly drunk. Like medically impossibly drunk. I would never. How is she even still alive? Things read different down here. And I know you weren't, he said, sitting next to him. I'm just joshin' ya. You're a good kid, Brief. I could sense that in you before, and so could she just now. So, what did you do? Brief breathed a sigh of relief. Hell or no, it wouldn't do to be known as the guy who feels up drunk chicks. We just talked. Kinda. Well, her BLD alcohol level could be measured in octane, so what she was saying wasn't really clear, but Brief sighed, shaking his head. She's really lonely. And sad. And actually pretty nice too. I feel bad for her. Vortex sighed and nodded, rubbing the back of his head. Yeah, I know. I should have invited her to something less intense. A party like this one might have been a bit much. He patted the human on the shoulder. Thanks for looking after her, Brief. You're a good kid. I try, he muttered, looking at the ground. I really do. Do you think she'll remember any of this? Meeting me? A human? Bit of kismet, actually, said Vortex, tapping his chin in contemplation. Getting you back to Earth isn't gonna be easy, and she can get us access to one of the ways. See, her dad's, renting a Goetia grimoire. If all else fails, that's our best shot at getting you home. So, just as well you met her now, it might make things go over easier later. Wow. Really? Brief exclaimed, smiling. Talk about lucky. The one girl who'll talk to me for more than 5 minutes will wind up saving my soul. So cool, like something out of a manga. He said, feeling hope swell within him. He can get back home. To Chuck and the others too. He stopped cheering. It's one of the options, said Vortex, frowning, not noticing the dip in the boy's energy. Let's narrow down that list, first. The grimoire they're using belongs to Prince Stola's Goetia, you know him, and SHT's really unstable around him right now. Add on top of that, her freaky adoptive dad, well, let's just do our best to avoid demon royalty, right? Yeah, this Blitz guy sounds eccentric. And he reminded him of the angels. In all the bad ways. But he had a decent heart in wanting to do right by Luna, at least. That's the nicest thing I've heard anyone say about him. Vortex mused before he heard a growing stomach and Brief looked at his midsection. Hungry? I could go for a pizza slice, if there's any left. We got some. Vortex ruffled his head and stood up. Glad to see you read those books. They've been collecting dust, he eyed the books by the nightstand. Don't think I've even read all of them. Yeah. Reading literature from hell is so interesting and unique. Lots of swears though in some of the few I've read. You get used to it. Oh, Vortex took a deep breath. So, since Luna is gonna crash on the couch, you'll make sure of that, and I'll take her back to her place tomorrow morning. I can handle her old man fine before I go to work, the black-furred hound elaborated. After that, I'll see if Luna'll be open to us using that grimoire of hers. It may, he waved his hand in a so-so kind of way, grimacing. Have to involve going to her workplace in Imp City. Can't imagine her lugging that thing around. We might have to meet her dad. That cool? Then I'll go home? Brief asked. Vortex nodded. I'll be the guy's therapist if it means I can go home. Brief cried. DMN right. Now, I'll get you some leftover pizza slices I saved for you. Be right back, and you can hit the sack, too. We have had a long day. Alright. Thanks Mr. Vortex. One step closer to going home, and it involved that hound girl who spilled out her life story and failures in a massive drunken rant for 2 hours. While being in hell. One more day, and he can leave this place. The next morning. Vortex waited out by the truck, looking down at his phone as he looked at his text to Eula. Brief is gonna help me clean up. Such a sweetie 3 foot. He chuckled and pocketed the device. For a kid who didn't enjoy much of the party last night, he sure was willing to help, or find something to distract himself. He always had this far-away look in his eye, that is when he was calm. Not sure if it meant much, but the dark-furred hound can see there was a lot on his mind. To be fair, a living human going to hell would do that to a person. He heard the door open, and he saw Luna walk out of the front door. Thanks for the breakfast, Eula. She called out, waving a bit as she walked down the porch and to the truck. She looked miserable, a water bottle in hand and looking like she was run over by a dump truck. He opened the side door for her, and she got on in as he closed the door. Nice truck. She commented as she took a big drink. Thanks for the lift, too. No prob, Vortex replied as he got in and started it up. So sorry about last night. Vortex uttered. Must have been, well, rough for ya, I imagine. No kidding, Luna grumbled as she leaned back in the chair. Blee, what even happened last night anyway? I, blacked out or something. That's putting it mildly, Vortex added as he drove through the neighborhood. We put ya on the couch though. And got some food in ya. You. Also met our roommate, too. Luna turned, quirking an eyebrow. You have a roommate? She asked. Yeah. Sinner, actually. Fresh in hell. Sheesh, explains the smell then, Luna mused as Vortex felt a little relief. Showing her a little truth can help. What's a sinner doing out in Houndsville anyway? They all keep to the pentagram and suburbs around it. Fell in, needed a place, was willing to pay. Vortex shrugged, keeping it cool. Little lies with the truth here and there hurt no one. Yeah, but, for some reason I remember a little good, from last night. Luna murmured. Don't remember what though, she clicked her tongue. I forgot to record the Wrathball game of that shark. She groaned. Was gonna take a pic and, forgot. The way you were pounding away, girl. I'd be lucky to remember my own name, Vortex said. So, mind sending me your address? Yeah, I got you. She texted him her address as Vortex put it into his own phone at a stoplight, and then got onto Main Road. He kept his eye on the road, seeing Luna look out the window as the world went by as she rubbed her forehead. Ugh, I'm gonna need a big pick-me-up. Got targets to kill today? A few, Luna muttered as she looked at phone. And Blitz didn't send anything back after his errand, too. Knowing him, he'll likely be back asleep snoring like a chainsaw. Heavy sleeper. You bet. Vortex nodded as he drove along and Luna remained silent. So your roommate he had, 3 heads, right? Yeah. He said, like a liar. Sometimes. F me, did he do anything to me? Luna asked, looking peeved. Not at all. Eula made sure of that. Luna remained silent, before sighing. Okay, she said, looking out the window again. I believe you. Just I get mixed signals when I think about what I can remember. How so? He's a sinner, so they're all F up in SHT. But when I think of that mop-head hair on that three-headed dipshit I feel nice. For some reason. But again, sinners. Trust them as far as you can throw them. No, I totally understand. He has good money and paid several months up front and he keeps to himself. He's cool. Vortex added while Luna had a soft scoff. Probably keeping to himself gooning over Verosica or some SHT like that, she mused, looking down at her phone, face torn. So, you felt good around him? Spent a little time with him last I recall. At the party? Yeah. You were drunk as a skunk. He made sure you didn't fall all over the place. Vortex added as Luna blanched, mortified. Okay. Well, if he didn't do anything to me I'll take your word for it. She sighed, rubbing her forehead. This headache sucks ass. Need me to stop by a place and get you a quick pick-me-up? He asked as he got onto the freeway, heading towards Imp City. No, it's fine. I'll live. I got some back at home. Blitz always keeps extra on hand for the both of us. Nice. Vortex nodded as they drove along. So what's his name? I barely remember a thing, but was his name like, Brock or something? Luna asked, looking his way as Vortex pondered. Rock, actually. Lil truth in there, but Luna was getting closer to the bullseye. Likely his hell name, or something. Rock, Luna murmured, speaking the name again as Vortex had an eye drift over to her, no longer on her phone but she was looking out as the red-tinted sky passed by over the vast pentagram many miles away. He spotted the sign leading to Imp City and took the turn onto here. Within several minutes they made it to the apartment complex and he pulled up. Here you go. See ya around? Vortex asked. Next time I can invite you to something low-key. Like bowling or something, he said as Luna got out of the truck. That'd be great, thanks. She said, bearing a grateful smile. Sorry for causing trouble earlier, I get antsy. Sometimes. Not a problem, no harm no foul. Vortex shook his head, smiling. Oh, by way. He saw Luna's ears perk up. Later on I may need to ask you for a favor. That okay? A favor? Sure. She laughed. Sure thing. What do you, need? I'll call you when I do. It's nothing major. We may need to drop by your work though just in case. Vortex replied as Luna tilted her head in confusion. Sound good to you? Gladly. Luna nodded, her tail wagging a bit as Vortex chuckled. Alright, I'll keep in touch. Thanks Luna, I owe ya. The silver-haired girl stroked her hair a bit, looking nervous and adorable as always. He saw his phone ring, and he saw the call sign. Verosica. Sorry, I'll talk to you later, he said, rolling up the window as Luna waved, mouthing, see ya, before she went safely into her apartment complex. Blitzo may be worried she's coming back at around 6 in the morning, but she's a big girl. She can handle herself. He turned to his phone, getting back on the road as he put it on speaker. Yes ma'am, he said. Tex, me and the gang are gonna meet you at the studios. Got a call from Valentino, wants to try and get a jump on this sooner than later. Verosica spoke and Vortex took a deep breath. Valentino may be one of the worst of the V's, who are collectively among the worst of Hell's overlords, but they have the protection of Asmodeus. He wouldn't be foolish to try and earn the ire of one of the 7 sins. Right? You on the way? I know you had the day off yesterday and SHT, but I need you pronto. Ugh, my hair is a mess, Verosica muttered. We'll meet ya at Studio 69 in the Salamis district. Understood ma'am. On the way there. Passing through Imp City now. Imp City? What for? Accident on the road leading to Pentagram. Had to take a detour. Fine, we'll meet you there Texas. She hung up and Vortex took a deep breath. From the thrills and chill good times of the party last night, now he was about to enter one of the most depraved places in the hellscape. And that wasn't idle speculation or hyperbole, mind, it was a proudly advertised feature of Studio 69. That Ozzy himself didn't send a cease and desist for false advertising lent credence to the claim, to say nothing of the studio's robust catalog. He pondered if he should burn his clothes at the end of the day. Probably. The real question was, should he burn them at home or as soon as he got off the lot? The latter, since he didn't want to contaminate his car seats. He pulled into the lot, carting in and parking next to Verosika's caddy. His security team was already assembled, sitting on their various vehicles, smoking and shooting the SHT. They saw him step out and got to their feet, standing at attention. They were an even mix of sinners and hellhounds, the latter of whom he knew from previous jobs. A huge, mean-looking mastiff hound appropriately named Titan and a sleek, elegant husky hound by the name of Io. Both could be relied upon to spot and end trouble before it started. The sinners, a tall cyborg humanoid and an incredibly muscular, so stout I'm a barrel on legs, hippodemon, sent a respectful nod his way. Vortex honestly couldn't tell if they actually respected him or were so PSS terrified of Ozzy that they'd become sterling actors. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 3. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author Zaru on FANFICTIONnet. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.